Okay, welcome back. This is my second devlog. Hopefully this one will be a little shorter than my first attempt. I did get a little carried away with that, apologies. This is to showcase some cool visuals that have been added to let the player see how the resource network will connect up as they start placing the various facilities and outposts across their map. Typically you start a game with a command center. That's the first thing that gets built. It is the most important building in the game. If you lose all of your command centers, your game is done. So take care of these. You can move it around, you can rotate and choose your placement for it. So we'll place one of those there and build that. Whilst that is building, the buildings have got a number of interfaces that connect them to the other facilities and outposts on the map, and they are used for transferring energy. Energy is used as your main only real resource in the game. It's used for everything from keeping the lights on, the defences running, to constructing units. Everything relies on it, so planning this out is quite key. A light command center has 4 interfaces. The other units that you can build vary. Some have only got 1. If it's a small outpost, it may only have 1 as it's an endpoint. Not much to look at there. When you build the second unit, however, which normally will be a reactor, because after your command center you need power. When you spawn one of these in, you get a visual representation. If it's red, it's immediately too close, or that the terrain is not suitable for spawning or whatever. But as you can see, there is a green outlying circle around the reactor as you move it around. That gives you an indication as to the range with which you can connect to other buildings. Every building has to have at least one connection to both a command center and a power source. Normally a reactor, could be a wind farm, could be a generator, but it has to be powered. Otherwise it will effectively be running on generators until it runs out of fuel, and then everything goes offline. So when you're planning your layout, make sure that you have at least one, ideally more than one connection back to a command center, so you can receive the commands from your team in orbit, and to at least one reactor, so as you can get powered. These connections have got a limited bandwidth, so if they start to get too busy, then you're going to start to suffer from brownouts, low power conditions, and you're going to have to start making some difficult choices. As you move that around, you can see the white line is jumping from point to point. They are the interface points that each of these buildings has got, and that will show you where it is going to connect up. Yeah, and as you rotate around, yeah. So as long as one of those is connected back to something that is already connected to a reactor and a command center, then you're good. And then you just place your building. Which will level out the terrain underneath it, and then the construction for that can start. Different buildings have got different ranges on them. The bigger the building, the more upgraded the building is, the further away from each other they can be placed, and they have different numbers of interfaces. Typically the command center, the reactor, and the military facility have quite a lot, and they are used as hubs on your resource network that can connect lots of things. It's important to try and plan diverse routes for these, so if you lose a building, you don't end up with a whole load of resources that are disconnected and that you can't control anymore. And once they're connected up, take you down to the ground level. There's your reactor, little advertising boards and things, and that's the command center to which it is connected. As you build other buildings, you can daisy chain them off, but as I said, do bear in mind that if you lose a building that has got a lot of other units hanging off of it, and it is the only link in the chain, you will lose access to all of the things that have been disconnected from your command center, or you'll lose power if they're disconnected from a power source. This can be used quite strategically when you're attacking enemies as well. If you understand how their resource network has been laid out, you can choose your targets wisely. So yeah, that was what I wanted to show. In the final release of the game, there will be a feature to toggle this on and off for all connected units, so you can visually see laid over the terrain what your RTN network looks like. There's also going to be a UI screen that we're working on at the moment that shows you more of a graphical representation that you can zoom in and out and bring up sort of detailed stats as to what the loadings are on all these interfaces and what the units are doing, so you can see when things are starting to get overloaded. Do bear in mind when these buildings come under attack and they start bringing the defences online, particularly the big ticket items like shields and weapons and things, their power consumption may go up by maybe a factor of 5. And obviously that places a lot more demand on the links connecting back to your reactors. So you might have things that are fine when all is quiet, but if you get more than 1 or 2 buildings being attacked, you might start to suffer from power problems. So it's important that you plan your network correctly. Hopefully this made sense and was useful. If you need to know any more, please get in touch.